One of the trees coming down, you can see all the giant limbs, all the glass is cleaned up, but they got away with different items as far as merchandise. This certainly was an emotional day in the courtroom. His face a bit teary-eyed as Owen Labrie heard his sentencing. But a huge concern tonight is all of the leftover ice here. You can see some of it on the sidewalk. The doors are still broken here. In fact, if we take a look in this can right here, this is about $900 worth of damage. 8 gallons of water just like this, but imagine 400 to 500 of them.
Is all about.
Have you seen this picture? Well, some of you have, and you're upset. The two men here holding beer cans in their hands. You can see them right here, the Natty Daddies, and they're in the AMR headquarters in Manchester. And believe it or not, check it out. They're in their polos representing the company. So here's what these men in the photo have to say for themselves. On the left, Christopher Hickey of AMR, and on the right, his supervisor, Christopher Stawas, on Hickey's last day with the company.
Yeah, it was in my office. I had punched out already. He wasn't on duty. It can be there, it can't be consumed.
Hickey said his supervisor posted the picture on his Facebook page. We went looking, and it's since been removed. It was meant as a celebratory moment. The two weren't drinking the beer, they say, but it got online and, well, made some people second-guess these first responders.
I wouldn't want them helping me if I got hurt.
I expect more from the people who try to serve us.
To assume that their intention was to drink those beers and not to be, fully able to do what they had to do in case there was a problem.
AMR's headquarters got wind that the picture was gaining traction online, and we asked for a hard copy of the company's policies about alcohol in the workplace. They gave us a call.
It was an unfortunate thing that they did, but everyone trusts him. I know it's hard to tell from the picture, but if Chris says those cans are unopened, we're going to believe him.
Hickey was more than happy to sit down with us in his new office at Manchester Fire, where he continues a lot of the work he did for AMR. He doesn't have Facebook, but understands why people in Manchester would be upset.
I suppose if they thought we were drinking it, it could cause some public dismay.
And the takeaway?
I think people need to be careful what they use in the media, right? Facebooks or Twitters and all that other stuff.
Video you'll only see on NH1 News. The woman on your screen in her early 20s, say witnesses. One woman who didn't want to be identified describes what she saw that day.
And then when I realized what was going on, I've got children, and it's a different world than when I was, 20 years old.
Watch the exclusive video again. Shop owners say all down Main Street she was falling over and off balance, crashing into parked cars, suffering from a heroin overdose.
We're watching this girl die. They came with the Narcan, and within 30 seconds, she opened her eyes. And Concord they have a huge problem, and they know it. They need to get on board.
Concord's Fire Chief Dan Andrus told NH1 News their numbers of overdoses have skyrocketed in the past years. The fire chief told NH1 News that they're working on conversations between departments and getting the safety board more involved so that victims of addiction, like the woman on Main Street, aren't left without options. And the woman was given Narcan right here on the sidewalk. Shop owners say luckily she walked away just fine. But the chief of fire also telling us here in Concord that he knows this problem is going to take a while to curb, and it's not going to happen overnight. Live in Concord, Jenna Abate, NH1 News. The North End neighborhood is quiet, and our crime tracker proves that. Take a look. Crimes haven't been reported in the area of Ray and Carpenter, where Robert was shot. In fact, the most reported crime within a mile of this area is assault and battery. So what are the next steps in catching this killer? It is a step-by-step process that has multiple departments working hand in hand. Sunday night, neighbors say a doctor who lives in the neighborhood first came across the body, and someone called 911 for help. First responders had to examine the scene without causing disruption to any physical evidence. The scene was then roped off with crime tape to secure what may be an area of interest near where the body was found. A nearby home had their shed roped off to see if any evidence was apparent. Investigators would be looking for damaged doors or windows, perhaps from the single gunshot that ultimately killed Robert, but the bullet may have exited her body. Detectives have been using A metal detector on scene after neighbors were calling the possibility of hearing multiple shots. A survey of the area would indicate that if a shell casing from the gun were left behind or any traces of the victim's blood or spattering would determine the trajectory of the shooter's aim. Neighbor accounts and tips from the public are crucial as detectives are trying to piece these parts together. Meanwhile, police are circulating the description of the truck and male suspect. The New Hampshire Cold Case Unit's definition for a cold case encompasses homicides where the original investigation didn't result in an arrest, and the case lost its initial momentum due to the lack of viable or unexplored leads. Over time, this could be the direction of Denise Roberts' death. In the studio, Jenna Abate, NH1 News.